Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2020 and the third part and the final part of this experiment where we're taking a look at what would happen if you switched the Premier League and the Vanarama National League North around. So when we left off last time, you can already see quite a few Premier League teams had made it back into the top flight. You've got Man City, Man United, Liverpool and Arsenal all taking up the top four positions, but only just ahead of Leeds, who did win the title 3 times. Birmingham next in the list, having won 1 Premier League title. Leeds really trying to capitalise on that excellent success they had before Man City came back on the scene, and they have been totally dominant ever since. You can see transfer-wise, Man City have utterly unloaded. 125 million and 124 million. Real Madrid raking in the cash, but then also 69 of 56 million. They spent like 400 million on new players. Liverpool were unable to compete on that level. They've not signed anybody. The year before that, City again still unloading. Liverpool raiding Leeds, which will have put them at a competitive disadvantage. Leeds did try to make up a little bit by signing other players, but not really having the impact that they needed. And it means that Liverpool and Man City doing very well. United have come back absolutely charged at the league. They've been pumping into their club for some time. Now what we're going to do today is jump forward quite a long time, then we'll just run through each league season to see if anything major's happened, look at the big clubs, and then look at the big other competitions, then see if any of the clubs have a particularly interesting lens on them. But if you have enjoyed this experiment, do drop a like down below. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. There will be a new experiment out either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, so definitely do subscribe for that. But let's jump forward as far forward as I've actually managed to holiday and see how they've got on. Well, we are now 41 years into the future. We are going to start out by having a look at the National League North, just until we see the big Premier League teams either get out this league or get dragged down into obscurity. You can see in the first season, Newcastle and Norwich managed to make it out. Wolves and Leicester the very next year, and Aston Villa become the final Premier League team to get out of this division. At this point, it has taken them about 8 years to do it, but they have managed to make it out. Helped by other Premier League teams being dropped into the Vanarama National League South. But there you go, that is pretty much it. None of them ever come back as far as I'm aware, but we can keep an eye on anybody getting relegated from the other league up, but it certainly doesn't look like they have. When we go up and have a look at the National League, going back to the first season where we left off before, which I think was here, you can see Watford and Everton making it out. Crystal Palace still stuck down there. The following year, Newcastle and Palace go up. Wolves and Norwich, then Leicester and Sheffield. Blackpool actually make it out before Aston Villa do. Aston Villa still stuck down there. And Burnley dropping down to 9th. Real harsh blow for Burnley there. Aston Villa become the second to last team out. And then Burnley do win it the following year. 5 points clear of Gillingham. So all of the Premier League teams that have cleaned through back into league football proper. Now if we go and have a look here at the 26th season onwards, you can see Watford and Everton do jump out, Newcastle Palace jump out, Wolves jump out, but Norwich stay in the playoff positions. Then Leicester must have got relegated and they've gone back up as champions with Norwich, Curzon Ashton and Bolton also managing to go up there. The following year, you can see Sheffield United do make it up. Wigan go up. I'm just looking. Shouldn't there be more Premier League teams than this down here? Where's Aston Villa? There's Aston Villa, 8th place. Are there any other Premier League teams now? I think we're waiting for one more to come up. So Aston Villa did get promoted. Who was the other one that managed to come up? Sheffield United got promoted. I don't think there is. Oh, Burnley in 10th. We're keeping an eye on Burnley now, finishing 6th, and then they become the final one to get promoted. It's the year 2035 as they finally make it into League One. Now, League One, let's have a look at this season. If we drop down to the 25-26 season and go forward, you can see Bournemouth, West Ham both make it up. Watford and Everton in 4th. Newcastle, Hull and Everton all go up. Brighton, Palace and Wolves go up. Leicester go up. Southampton go up with them as well. They must have been relegated. Now, who are the teams we're looking for here? I think basically we're looking for Aston Villa and Brighton to start appearing on the screen. There's Aston Villa. They go up. Quick promotion. Palace in 5th though. Sheffield United still down here. I don't know if it's going to be a happy ending for Burnley when they make it up. I think it's another season before they get up here. Or maybe 2 more seasons. Burnley actually got relegated straight again there. Sent back down. So Burnley become the first Premier League team to hit their wall and get relegated back down. Do they come back up the next year? They actually do. They finish in 7th place. So it's not all over for the Premier League teams at this time, but Burnley struggling in mid-table. They do finally get promoted. So who's left? We've got Palace still down here. Sheffield United, I think, did go up. So Palace go up the next year. And that is it. There are no more Premier League teams down here. But we're in the year 2042 as they all make it up into the Championship or Premier League. So 2042, let's remember that date. Now, in the Championship, from where we left off, this is probably where it's going to start a little bit more murky. You can already see some of the old Premier League teams not getting straight up the next season. Fulham and Middlesbrough going up. West Ham stuck in mid-table. It gets a lot more competitive at this point. But the Premier League teams started to filter into here. Now, Leeds actually got relegated from the Premier League despite being Premier League champions. We'll have to look at what happened there. West Ham and Bournemouth do go up. Watford go up. Newcastle trying to get up there but can't. Just trying to flick through these quite quickly. Feel free to pause the screen if you would like to look at these tables in more detail. But you can see a lot of the Premier League teams now just kind of stuck there. We're waiting for the year 2046. That was when the league cleared out. Burnley got relegated there in 2042. And then they do come back up at some point in 46 here. But you can see there's not a lot of change here. It's just the Premier League teams bouncing around. Newcastle almost getting relegated. Leicester did get relegated. So these are teams that are never going to make it back into the Premier League. Certainly not in their original shape. Anyway, they are very much a different club now, including Newcastle. And they're just bouncing around. Newcastle's still not in the Premier League at that point. And it's just become a bit murky now, quite hard to follow. So let's go up to the Premier League and have a look from where we left off, what has been happening in the Premier League. So when we left off last time, you can see City won it ahead of United. The following year, City win it again. Birmingham, though, managed to displace United and Chelsea. Leeds dropped down to 8th. Spurs have to settle for 9th. And then Arsenal break City's dominance on the league title. Guiseley, though, make a shock 5th place run here. The highest we've seen one of these non-league teams in a while. Good to see Boston United are still in there as well. Southport's still in there. As not getting relegated. Boston, though, the next year do get relegated. That is so tight at the bottom. And Leeds get relegated as well. What a fall from grace for Leeds. They finish 7th and then they finish 18th. What on earth happened to Leeds? Dreadful stuff. Boston going down. Guys who's still hanging on in 11th place as Arsenal take a title. City the next year. Southport are now gone. We're just hoping Guiseley don't fall out. I think that they and did York get relegated? I'm pretty sure that York got relegated. I think it's just Guiseley that we're waiting for to see if they manage to survive. And they are at the moment. Swansea having a good push at the title, but it's all Arsenal at the moment. City come back to win it. Leeds are back in the Premier League in 5th place. They are all over the place, Leeds. Absolutely everywhere. They then drop down to 11th. Guiseley still in there, though. Still hanging on around the top as United take some titles. Guiseley trying to push for that Champions League spot again. 8th place now. Leeds? Yeah, Leeds are in 9th. I thought it'd been relegated again. But they're down to 13th now, Guiseley. As City take title after title. And then Guiseley get relegated. They become the last heroic Premier League team. Unless York City never got relegated. We can go back and check. But I'm pretty sure they will have got relegated at some point. Let's keep an eye on York City. They're the only team I'm not sure have definitely been relegated at this point. Liverpool do manage to take a title, though. And then City come back. Not that interesting at this point. Darlington have a 5-point deduction. They end up finishing in 16th as United take a title, and that continues to happen. I actually don't think York City have been relegated. They're up to 6th place now as United take another title, City take another title. It's just an absolute carousel of the same names coming out time after time, which is what we didn't want. York up in 6th again. They just can't quite crack that top 4. Oh, they're up to 5th, 1 point away from Southampton there as United take another title. And then they do it. They make it into the Champions League. That's what we're waiting for. Can they make it to the top of the Premier League? They get another Champions League season, but then they drop down to 10th. The pressure of it all starting to get to them. And where are they now? Back up to 5th. That's what we want to see. Is anybody going to win a title other than the big teams here? Telford are up in 5th. They've come from nowhere. York still in 12th, still in the Premier League. Next year, still United. It's so boring. That was exactly what we were hoping to break, but it never happened. York City, the most interesting non-league team. It looks like they may never have actually been relegated. I do find that very, very unusual. Let's have a look in their landmarks. It may well say if they did get relegated from the Premier League. Well, it would definitely say that. Oh, promotion from the Sky Bet Championship. They definitely did get relegated, which is a shame. Relegated in 2027. So there you go. No non-league team managed to survive the entire duration of this experiment. They were all relegated at one point, and nobody managed to maintain a challenge at the top. York came closest with a few 4th place finishes, but you can see it's been all United recently. All of City before that. Arsenal had a few as well, but it's been a very long time since Leeds were near the top. Birmingham had a good crack at it in the 48-49 season, but a non-league team in the top 3, when did that last happen? That last happened in the very first season. They managed 1 year before being swamped out by first the Championship and then very quickly the established Premier League order. York City did very well to get a few 4th place finishes in there, and we will have a quick look at the various cup competitions because we don't know that they haven't won something like the FA Cup. If we just hit that there and look at the past winners here, we're not going to go into any detail on this. You can see they did make a few cup finals. And there we go, guys, they have won the FA Cup. They are the first non-league team since Hereford to win one of the major trophies in English football, the 33-34 season. Did anybody else manage to do it? Telford made a final where they were beaten by Leeds. Anybody else? Darlington managed to win one. Boston United in that final. That's a great little final. Guys, he made another final. York City made one. Darlington won another FA Cup. And if we look at the Carabao Cup, going back, you can see Fulham, Leeds, no shocks in here. Well, I mean, some of these are a shock, but they're not the non-league shock we're looking for. And there you go, guys. They win another one. They've won the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup now. So they do have something in that trophy cabinet. Incredible stuff by them. Now, if we go and have a look at the Champions League, this is not going to be a detailed look. We're just going to see if any English teams managed to come back to the top of the European table. So you can see City made 2 finals but were beaten by Spanish teams who've had a total stranglehold on this competition before PSG came along. Arsenal made it to a final, but nobody in here of any real note. Did any English teams manage to win it? We get to the top. United won it twice. 3 times, and Liverpool won it once as well. Man City actually never won the Champions League. They still have never won the Champions League all this time on. Despite that enormous dominance, they have made a couple of finals, but lost out to La Liga teams on both occasions. So not brilliant that for Man City. Liverpool managed to take another one. They had to watch Man United come back and appear in 7 finals, winning 3 of them before they've even won 1. So a little bit disappointing for them there. Past winners of the Europa League. What have we got? Any big English names? Oh, guys, they made a final of the Europa League, but they lost to Sevilla in the final. Heartbreak. Middlesbrough managed to win another Europa League there and another one. Anybody else managed to make a pop at this competition? It doesn't look like it. Middlesbrough again. Love this competition, don't they? But yeah, guys, that was the closest they came. What a history this club has had. They have been bouncing around up and down out the Premier League recently. But if we look at their competition history, nobody can take these away from them. Europa League runner-up, FA Cup winners, and Championship winners 3 times, and Carabao Cup winners, runner-up in 1 Community Shield. They have definitely been the stars of this. Hereford were up there. I do want to have a look at where Hereford are now, given they were the first team. And you can see they've been down, actually went back into non-league at one point, have bounced around a little bit. Nice little uptick before coming down on the roller coaster. And if we have a look at their competition history, that Premier League win will always be on their record now. They did win a League One as well, runner-up in the Community Shield. Didn't manage to win that. But they add it to their Welsh Cup, the Premier League title. Definitely the biggest competition in their history. A huge result in here. But I think you have to give it to Guiseley. I think they've been the absolute stars of this. The fact that they managed to continue to challenge at the top and go for these cup competitions. I just want to have a look at York. Honourable mention for them. They were the ones late on still hitting the top 4 in between 54 and 56. And if we look at their competition history, runner-up as well in the Premier League in 2020, runner-up in 4 FA Cups, runner-up in the Euro Cup too. We didn't look at that. Has anybody managed to win this one? Let's have a look. Who've we got? I honestly don't understand what the hell this competition is. It's like the Intertoto Cup Strike 2. But I can't see anybody major appearing on this list. Leeds come back to get their title, but it doesn't look like anybody's managed to win it. I can't even see where York City are on this list. There they are. Missing out to Athletic Club Bilbao, but none of the non-league teams managed to win that trophy, which is a little bit of a shame. But York City, perennial runners-up. They did win the Carabao Cup. There we go. We can give them that. They won the Carabao Cup in 2054. But I think Guiseley are the absolute stars here, winning the FA Cup and Carabao Cup in there. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And I think that might be it for this experiment. I don't know what else there is really to have a look at. I think that is just about everything we can really see in maybe a little bit too much detail. So if you have enjoyed this experiment, do drop a like on the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. But until next time, see ya.